I'm going to solder two pipe joints here. One of them I'm going to solder without CO2, just plain old, air. And see, I'm using CO2 as a substitute for nitrogen. The other one right here, I'm going to solder with CO2, and then I'm going to cut them open. I got a little restriction here, just because I don't want the oxygen going in when I'm blowing the CO2. So I'll solder both of these. Okay, here's the first one. Now the CO2, I just used paintball with a regulator, and the amount of CO2, very little. You can hear there. Now I got my CO2 flowing through the pipe. Solder the other joint. I like soldering with an inert gas. The joints are much cleaner on the outside too. Nice and pretty. Okay. You can see on the outside you got quite a bit of oxidation. This is the air, no CO2. This is the joint with the CO2. You can see all that slag on there. The slag just wipes off with your finger. Gets into the compressor oil. Okay, the first joint. Look at all that slag just sitting in there. It's like a sand. See, it moves around the screwdriver. So as bad as the joint was on the outside, actually it looks worse on the inside. Now here's the joint with the CO2. So notice not a single bit of slag, on it. The outside, I cleaned the outside with my hand because I didn't want the slag falling in. The slag was the same on the outside as the other joint. So no inert gas with inert gas. Now that was just one solder joint. Imagine if you're doing a job like this and you got solder joint, solder joint, solder joint, solder joint, 1 3/8 copper. All the slag you can get off of that. And then the same thing on the outside. So you get that oxygen out of there, the joints will look nice and clean. You can use nitrogen, which is what I used to use. Have a nitrogen regulator. It's kind of a pain carrying that thing around, get tired of it. Or you can use CO2. I use the paintball regulator there. It has to be made for CO2. Notice it has a pressure relief so the regulator doesn't blow up on you, because the CO2 runs at about 800 psi, and it's 700 now. And then the output, this regulator just drops it down like 65, and then you put a little needle valve on there. You can have, it takes a tiny little bit and drives the oxygen out. And here's where I refill with the CO2. I have a 20 pound, it costs 20 bucks, $1 a pound. It is a 2-pound bottle, but I always fill it up just halfway, just with 1 pound. It takes just a few seconds to refill. And I have to do a disclaimer, you're supposed to weigh it in. And And I'm not going to say what I do. I've been doing this for many years. And actually, I can show you right here. First you do is purge out your air. Once that tank was empty, I fill it up with liquid. And I don't use the scale because I know I'm not filling it all the way. You fill these all the way that you can blow them up and have a very bad day. And you open your valve, lead your line. I'm ready to go with another bottle of CO2. Now I almost forgot another advantage for using the CO2 setup with the paintball. And the advantage is you get the world's most powerful drain blaster. Use one of these. I actually even drill it to make it blow more. I can do 800 psi drain blasts, and it costs practically nothing to use that. Thanks for watching.